Yeah. It is Trekland. And this is Tuesday still, I think. And, folks, sometimes a cigar is just a prop. Star Trek. Today on Trekland Tuesdays Live with me, Dr. Trek, Larry Nemechek, coming at you by hook or by crook from the heart of Trekland through Portal 47. Hey, for some sanity, clarity, and the big picture in all things Star Trek. Welcome to you today, Tuesday, and to all you patient folks. I actually had technical issues today, but we are here. We are here. And thanks to patient helpline folks. Yes, this is an interesting bit that's popped up. And usually, I don't ride the waves of whatever the socials are doing because it tends to go away. We're not quite Lordy. We are not in those crisis of the week moments the way we were before. I prefer to sit back and see what the long-term issues and themes and topics are going to be when we're talking about current Trek. And just betting on how much of this anyone's going to care about in 5 years or 10 years. But this week I thought was a good example. I thought was a good illustrative example. So we're going to get to that. Of course, if you're coming in with us on Facebook, you're only seeing Facebook. If you're with us on the other channels, you're seeing everything. And if you're watching me later, if you're watching me later on YouTube right now, you're missing all this live interaction. And you're going to miss our chat later on and the Parent Analytics ratings update. So think about joining us live if you can sometime. But let's dive in now. All those things will be after the midway break. But right now, I want to jump into, sometimes a cigar is just a prop, Star Trek, because it's really funny. Now, look, I think it's safe to say that in most quarters, the debut of Picard this week, and congratulations, everyone. Congratulations, Terry Matalis and Kiva Goldsman, and hey, Dave Blass and that amazing art team. I mean, right? Everybody's seems to be bathing. I mean, a lot of this is led by the visuals, the sets, and the ship porn, and everything going on right now. But I think the feel and vibe of the show as well, the acting. People get it that it's moved on 2 years. Spoilers since the end of Picard season 1. And there's going to be an interesting story presented. What's funny is, though, as always, you watch something. I'd seen the screeners. We saw the preview Wednesday night. Good on Paramount Plus for finding ways to have lots and lots of fans. Don't despair if you weren't in on the secret club because it showed that night later on. But kudos on them for broadening that audience, potentially coming to the virtual screener. I wonder if it'll be the last one. I wonder if Strange New Worlds will go back to live previews, or if there'll be a live and a virtual premiere party. We'll see. But it's safe to say that the initial response to Picard, I'm pretty sure, has been positive. But, of course, there's always going to be a wrinkle out there. And apparently, among some quarters, there was a bit of kerfluffle because good old Cristobal Rios got to retain his cigar. Now, you could say that on the La Serena, it was his freighter, it was his ship. He can, his ship, his rules. He can do whatever the hell he wants to. Aside from the overall view of smoking in general and tobacco use and addiction, if you want to go there, in the 24th century. And kids, we've advanced 2 years from 2499. We are technically now with Picard in the 25th century. Not quite to the 25th and a half century. So yeah, we're in the 25th century, and there's a bit of a confluffle here back in the early 21st about the depiction of smoking. Now, here's a couple things. Number one, did I mention that people are over the moon about the ships and they're over the moon about the costumes? Okay, so I'm talking about a narrow slice of fandom here. But it seemed to ignite some aspect of fandom this week. And I'm just thinking about, tobacco aside, the the affinity of, personal affectations. We've got a long history of that. I mean, where do people go off and they're allowed a little bit of it? For one thing, in the 23rd century, Scotty and Chekhov still having their accents. And even in the 24th, Miles O'Brien still having kind of a light accent that pops out every once in a while. You could even say about McCoy's southern drawl too. You can cast across the other series so far, some of the one-offs, some of the folks. We've seen affectations like that. Now, you would think that the cultural blending, something like drawls and accents, individual verbal, that would have been long been drowned out. But I'm going to say that, as we've been saying since the 70s and explaining this, Scotty and Chekhov's accents, it's a point of personal pride. It's something they've worked on themselves. It's like a hobby. It's like cooking. Sure, you can use the replicator. 98% of the world uses their replicator. But there are some folks like Riker, like Cisco, others who keep up live cooking as a hobby. Okay. You're going to say, Larry, that's eating. That's not smoking. I know. I'm just going down the line here. I remember Captain Styles and his swagger stick. I mean, if you really wanted to have your personalities, your unique personalities, your local color in Starfleet, some might say it was ego unhinged, but I'd like to think across Starfleet we have ego in check. And if we don't, then that's the recipe for your Captain Laytons and your Badmirals right down the line. And that's where we're going to go. Your Captain Ransom, as in Voyager's renegade captain that was discovered on the Equinox. You're going to have that. And if that's the DNA code in there, then you're going to have repercussions. But the vast majority of people just like to have something individualistic. And look, even beyond there, Cisco with his indulgence on baseball, having his baseball on his desk. Janeway and her coffee mug, if not the coffee itself. Picard's, Shakespeare book, his big open book and all the affectations, the whole Ready Room joke that now Lower Decks has made into a meme, right? Although we know Picard's fish was apparently forced on him. Livingston was not his choice because he ended the practice with the E. Whether you want to say in canon that he decided not to, or go universe and just say he told John Dwyer he did not want to fish anymore, now that we're on movie level shows here. No enslaved, entrapped animals are going to be under his care. So obviously, number one, wants to be there later on in retirement. My God, Archer and Porthos. I mean, if you want to say a pet is an affectation, a loved one, companion, whatever you want to put the pet psychology on the spectrum. But all of these, and they tended to be commanders, they tended to be captains of ships, but everybody got an RHIP moment, right? Gosh, I mean, Kirk is the only one that didn't? I mean, he did in retirement. Thank you, Dr. McCoy, all the way from there to his Nexus cabin. Kirk's got the antiques on display, not so much outside of those doodads in his quarters that we famously don't know a thing about, but they're sitting there, that all the fan films love to recreate. Yeah. I don't know, guys. It's like, George Burns' cigar, Dean Martin's water glass. Am I going too far back for you? Yeah, affectations, cultural throwbacks, they're props. Look, a real open flame would be verboten on a bridge, right? Anybody remember famously in Star Trek II, Nick Meyer wanting to busy up the boring walls, and he even had a couple of no smoking signs. And of all the notes that Gene was valiantly trying to throw at Harv and Nick for Star Trek II as his new position in the Star Trek universe was making itself obvious, of all the things he campaigned for and pointed out, one of the things they actually finally paid attention to was taking down the no smoking signs. Because, in Gene's mind, people were a little more perfect and nobody smoked because everybody realized what a health hazard it was. Why would intelligent, sane people do that? And now, if you want to come back at Rios' cigar on that point, you might have a point. Everything I just mentioned about personal props, personal affectations might just do it. Except for the fact that we never once see Rios light it up. So, we never once checked the alcohol content of Dean Martin's glass. And I think in the earlier years where George Burns might have smoked a cigar on live stage or in early TV, by the end of his days, if he was off camera, if it was an interview, but performing, I could be wrong about this. It was a different time, a different era, even toward the end of his life, into the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. He might have lit up when he was on stage at Vegas. So maybe he's not the best example. But I am saying, can we allow Rios? Can we allow a Rio this? I mean, because going with the idea that sometimes a cigar is just a prop. I think so. Now, if we see him light up, if I've overlooked something, but I think I checked and I think I consulted around. If he's off planet, maybe we're just going to have to chalk this one up to cultural heritage, the way we have with everyone else, 2502 or not. You would have to say that Rios is an individual and he's had a track. He's had some trauma and he's come back from trauma, apparently, and he's back in the mainstream again. So good on him. Good on everybody that we see in Picard in that way. But overall, guys, the big picture here is sometimes you can see it on the pad back there, sometimes not. But this gets back to what I like to call one of the original Trekland hashtags, right? Texture, not trivia. Hello, tag. Texture, not trivia, meaning that when something goes against the assumption you've always had, maybe it was even a stated line of dialogue or something that's in a big bold graphic, something you've heard a creator, Gene, all the way back to, saying for decades and decades and decades, and then something comes along to violate that. Is it an error? Was it an off-the-cuff mistake that no one really put thought into, or was it an intentional creative choice, either with a visual or with a concept or with a character moment? Whatever it is, if you saw it, that means it's on film. And we might disagree. We might even see the creators, if it was an oopsie moment, we might even see people walk that back real quick. And then yet the purists among us are left with, oh, but I saw it. I saw that no smoking sign in the transporter in that one scene before they took it down. Yeah. We could go on and on with the list of those forever. And that's what's kept everybody from Phil Ferrand and the Nitpicker's Guide all the way down to the modern internet and all of our friends who love to poke those things out, whether or not it's for nefarious clickbait or not. But I'm just going to say, how do we deal with that? Texture, not trivia. Tags, not distractions. Boom. Texture, not trivia. That is the exception that proves the rule. Does anybody else in Starfleet carry even an unlit cigar? Maybe not. Maybe in the thousands and thousands of Starfleet officers, even among the hundreds that you might even say, well, RHIP, rank has its privilege. I mean, if Ro ever came back to Starfleet, would she be allowed to use her Bajoran earring rather than the way Riker dressed down a mere ensign that had a black resume and a horrible track record a mile long? Criminal record, in fact. Maybe rank might have its privilege. But if no one else in Starfleet has the affectation of a cigar, unlit or not, maybe that's the point. Maybe no one else in Starfleet, maybe no one else in Starfleet keeps a cigar, even as a prop. Even as a prop. We don't even know what it's made of. If you want to talk about the cans, even the sweat of constant contact on your fingertips, the moisture pulling in the carcinogenic material from the tobacco into your skin over time. Maybe it's not even actual tobacco leaves. But Rios is obviously a romantic, even if he's not quite as depressed a romantic as he was when we first met him. Anyway, once again, hey, IDIC, we love our fandom. And amid all the cheers and hurrahs and good feelings and smiles for this debut, I love the fact that some folks care enough about that corner to sound the alarm. And hey, I did the same thing with Wrath of Khan when things changed. Motion picture, but even more so Wrath of Khan. That's an awful brassy looking uniform. We're such in Reagan's America that everything's gone conservative with the militaristic uniforms. I got over it because, even the 23rd and the 24th centuries are allowed a little bit of a pendulum swing. As long as we don't go back to, medieval siege mentality. Looking at you, Vlad. All right. Did I make a point there? Does anybody get it? Did anyone else see that going by this week? Did anybody else happen to think of Texture Not Trivia this week? T-Public shirt, by the way, folks. I don't know. We'll see you in the chat here. Hey, listen, that's it. I'm going to take a break here now. We'll be leaving you if you're watching us later on YouTube. So as I pull away to come back in a moment, I just want to say, looking around real quickly, yay for Mike and Denise. I mentioned this last week, but if you haven't seen it, you can go to Larry Nipchick's Trekland on Facebook anyway. Catch a video link, or you can find it anywhere over the tubes. Not only are there photos, but the entire award segment for Mike and Denise getting the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Art Directors Guild. They put out a little bit of coin and made a very nice award highlight interview reel, and then had the awards ceremony with all the thank yous, and it was touching. Yes, everyone from Bob Justman to, of course, Herman Zimmerman, to everybody, to all the people in the original Next Generation art department, to the great Bird himself. Finally, it was very touching, very sweet. That's it. So congratulations again to Mike and Denise. And if you didn't see this just yesterday, it had been several days before, but the word just came out. And R.I.P. to Laurel Goodwin, who had been the original Yeoman Jay and Colt, very much human, in The Cage. She was someone pointed out, she was the last credited actor in The Cage. Of course, our own Sandy Gempel, who was one of the Telosians, was not credited as an unspeaking extra, but she is still with us. And bless his heart, Robert Butler, the director, is still with us. I had the great opportunity to have him on Portal 47 first, and then live at Comic-Con San Diego in 2019 in the before times. And just talked with his son the other day. Hopefully we'll get him on camera once more for another project. But yes, but Laurel. We had Laurel interviewed for Communicator back in the day, and we had her as part of our Women of Star Trek issue back in the day for Communicator, when that was the official magazine. And she sent me some photos that don't say anything. I totally found them the other day, sadly, that I'd never returned to her. But it was some shots of her and Elvis from some of her movie clips she had. I'll have to get those out and run them as a memorial. But yes, rest in peace, Laurel. She had a thankless job in that pilot. I hope if the show had picked up. In fact, there's an interview where she talks about she had been told they loved her, but the moment they changed Jeff Hunter and Pike as the captain and went a different direction, that was really it wasn't that NBC hated the entire cast. They wanted to go ahead with a new pilot. It was Jeff Hunter that didn't want to. And once that happened, they just wanted to see a whole different chemistry. So she was not invited back, along with all the rest of the cast. Aside famously for that pointy-eared guy. Yeah. So R.I.P. Laurel. All right. Hey, as we end up this part of the show, I do want to thank all of our Patreons. Once again, as always, Diana Hopkins, Robin Wilson, Lawrence Todd, Anne-Marie Siegel, Keith Rombach, Justin Porteous, Nathaniel Robinson, and Blaze K. And hey, our live wires of our Patreons, Rusty Harold, he can't talk, Rusty Harold, Halbert Goodjohnson, Robert McLean, Alan Hoansey, J.R. Poole, Byron Bailey, Dave Gregory, our newest Patreon, Gay Clevin Lundstrom, and Casey Shafsky. Thanks a lot, folks. If you want to jump in on my Patreon and help support Apparently it needs the support. Help support our live streaming efforts across all these Trekland channels. It's $5 and $10 a month. I keep it very simple. Patreon.com/Trekland Live. And around the rest of Trekland, of course, we're into season 8 now, and our newest episode of the Trek Files is up over at our Facebook page, The Trek Files, or at podcastroddenberry.com. You can get all the Roddenberry podcasts. We've had some changes in the lineup. You want to check out everything that's going on. This week we go into the mailbag with my good friend and producer, John Champion. We're back in the mailbag, Gene's mailbag from the 70s, that is, and we have some fun and some poignant letters this week. So you want to give a listen to that. And hey, do you know the word penultimate? It means next to the last. And this week is our next to the last episode of our original weekly format for Life Sport Live. So Dr. Ali and Dr. Trek will be back Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UK time. It'll be our next to last episode before our finale the week later, live, both of us together as part of Virtual TrekCon 3. We're working on a special show, still taking your ideas. So check it out over on the page. The page will survive. The brand will survive. We'll still be doing specials. We may do some live panels at cons. So we're keeping the Discord and the page. And I hear tell that moderator Jared may keep a monthly Zoomy chatty thing going for the lifers, because we had such a great community. We do have a great community. But this week is our next to last regular episode. Hope you can join us. And of course, anytime you want to join me, please like and subscribe on the YouTube where you are. If you are, it's Larry Nemechek's Trekland. Same for Instagram. Same for Facebook. Twitter is at Larry Nemechek. And portal47.net if you want to jump in with the live divers. I've been talking to some of the folks working on the current shows, and I'm so glad that we're finally at a point where now everybody is a little freer to talk. Hey, it's safety in numbers is what that's all about. So, yes, sometimes a cigar is just a prop, Star Trek. So, if you're leaving us now, please, please, please stay healthy. Don't take anything for granted out there. Stay woke. Check the sources is what I mean by that. And then you can trust what they're telling you. And if it is credible, then open your mind to maybe a new way of thinking. If it's legit. See how that works? It's kind of complicated. Or maybe it's not so complicated at all. Well, nothing's as complicated as me wishing you to trek well. Okay. Well, thanks everybody once again for hanging in. I'm sorry for the huge delay today. I woke up with a Chrome. I was facing the idea of, am I going to use Chrome? I can't use Chrome. I got a black camera. I got a camera on Firefox, but it was a degraded camera. So what's the choice here? I was leaning toward being degraded again, but Chrome's or Restream's help came through. Nothing ostensible. We tried several things. It wound up just being turn it on, turn it off on the fourth time. Strange. Something hinky going on. But here we are. Let's look at the parrots. Okay. Interesting times. You would think with all the online excitement that we'd see some shifts, right? Not so much. Not so much in the top 10 anyway, because other programs keep shifting around. So look, if you're new to Tuesdays Live, the Parrot Analytics, parrotanalytics.com is a company. No relation to me. I just have been reporting on them since the beginning of Discovery almost 5 years ago, 4.5 years ago. They use a mnemonic. They use an algorithm as their metric on the internet because no one knows what the digital show's actual popularity is because they keep the numbers to themselves, unlike the viewer ratings we've had, third party, but open to all in the era of commercial networks. So that's gone away. What is most popular, not popular? Well, one way they're trying to crack that nut is with their algorithm called average demand expressions. And then they measure the internet for a week in several countries, including the US that we have here. They post the top 10 every week. And they They display it as a factor of popularity across all the hundreds of streaming shows available, all the platforms, all the channels. This week, the number one show is The Mandalorian, which is still not in new series yet, but Boba Fett made The Mandalorian more popular again, apparently. At 38.8 times more popular than an average show, which is in the middle of that average band. These are all in the upper quarter percent or 0.4% is exceptional, or the upper 2.4% is outstanding. Mandalorian, then Stranger Things, Book of Boba Fett, Ted Lasso, The Witcher, Titans, 1883, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I'm waiting for all the episodes to go to watch again. Clone Wars and Cobra Kai, which ends up at 25.7 times more popular than the average show. That's the digitals. Oddly, this week, there are no digitals in the top 10 overall. The overalls, which they measure however they can, SpongeBob, Saturday Night Live, Euphoria, Attack on Titan, The Simpsons, Game of Thrones, Walking Dead, Sesame Street, and My Hero Academia, which ends up its top 10 overall at 38.9. So see, Mandalorian was 1/10 of a point away from even making the top 10. It was kind of a down week. Apparently, Marvelous Mrs. Maisel hasn't caught on yet with a lightning bolt. Everybody else was kind of going along. 1883, I think, got a lot of that. Now, we say those numbers, and the bottom top 10 was 25.7. The hoopla around Picard on the trend lines, don't know the exact weekly number, but on the trend line, last 30 days, its trend line, its demand has been averaging 15.7 on a 30-day trend. That's up in still in the outstanding, the upper 2.4% of all shows as Apple measures them. That is up 3.9% in the last 30 days. The 60-day trend line is way up for Picard, which is what you would think. It's more popular than 94.6% of all the action-adventure shows. Discovery, which is winding up its season, even with that horrible, horrific, momentum-staggering cut in the middle, but it was a COVID post-production delay. So nobody's fault. Blame the virus. It is showing at 19.7% on its 30-day trend, which is still outstanding. Its trend line is up 3% in the last 30 days, and the 60-day trend line is down slightly because the popularity is going down over the 60-day curve. This week, down slightly. Still more popular than 99.5% of all other drama shows as Parrot measures them. And just as a curiosity, Prodigy, which still has buzz as people are finding it because it's a kids show and kids are still finding it and parents are talking about it. Maybe young kids who are nimble-fingered and not blocked from the internet are out there expressing opinions. It's at 15.8%. It's 1/10 of a point higher trend line the last 30 days. And it's been more than 30 days since its mid-season break, we'd say. It's down 4.7% on the 30-day spike, though, a little bit. But its trend line is down a little bit, but it's still more popular than 94.8% of everything in action-adventure. Not kids animation, but all action-adventure, which is an interesting category. Parrot insists on lumping it in for. Very interesting. And as we've seen, some of the international surveys coming in are making Prodigy the most popular new series, of which we have not had one since Picard debuted. So we're safe there, or since Lower Decks premiered. But in the last year, it was the last quarter, first quarter, it's shaping up as in the top 10, the top 15 most popular new streaming shows across the board. So good on Prodigy. We'll see what happens with Strange New World. And now, we'll see what's happening with the chat. So once again, thanks everybody for your patience. I had a legitimate technical weirdness today happening that I tried everything I knew to do and nothing worked. But we will zip back. But we do have a good picture today. Yay. And I will say also, speaking of Prodigy, if you enjoyed my time with Cadet Alice, we have another one coming at you for the next couple of episodes of Prodigy. I was really tickled, and she's scary good when she's on camera. So another adventure with me and Cadet Alice is coming your way soon. So you might want to watch that. It gives you faith in the future. And brother, do we need some faith in the future right now? So I'm looking for actual questions. I have backsplashed too many home shows. I have backtracked to the beginning. We'll see what's going on. Thank you, Christoph. It's not, but my Chrome is the up-to-date version. Unless this is a whole nother stream. But anyway, we're here. And thank you for that sentiment. You guys and gals and peeps are wonderful. It's me putting it on the YouTubers and someone coming to it cold. And I'm trying to bring people into the Trekland orbit, not run them away because I'm technically incompetent. If it was bad, why would you even put it on the tubes then? Why would you put it out in public? Why would you release that crap if it looked that bad? No, everyone has your insight, Christoph. So I'm sitting in LA, and as I know here, it's all about the pictures, not the words. So there we go. What do you got going here? Picard's season premiere looked really good and Trek-like while acknowledging the passage of 30 years. Yes. I love the little Q bit they did. That was very cute. Here's what we can do, but we choose not to do it. But for everyone who insists, here's your canon reason. Boom, bang. We're good. Hi, Adam Fuel. I know you've been with us before. Maybe what? Yes. Can't fool you, Melanie. You knew my Duck Dodgers reference. Yes. Oh, I totally missed this, Stephen. Thank you. Or I haven't been back through. He used synthagars. All right, then. Done and dusted. But I still want to make the point. That even if he had because people have actual liquor and still acknowledge the effects. I'm thinking Bashir and O'Brien. I'm thinking more than once. I'm thinking Raffi and her snakeweed. Wherever people are on the spectrum, everybody has their downtimes. And there are still body-altering chemicals loose in the 24th, 25th century. But for most, yes, that's good to know. I missed that. Thank you. I have still not fine-tooth combed my way through the way I used to do. And I want the world to go away. Give me a year, and I want to do things my way again so that I will trust my stuff the way I do it. And hey, God bless them. Thank you, Memory Alpha, everybody else. But I want it done my way and the way I see things and the way I credit and attribute things so I can find it later. And I know exactly where on the canon spectrum it lies. I used to call it the tiers. Now we call it beta, alpha. Do we have gamma and delta? In that vernacular, in my system, we would have gamma and delta canon, but that's just me. But thanks for that. There you go. Yes, Olivia Diabo. Hey, the Worf's Russian parents, foster parents, I should say. See, you could go down through the line and see. Of course, you would say that, well, his foster parents, you could say that Olivia Diabo's Q weren't Starfleet, and Starfleet people are mixing and flying and all of that. So maybe the blunt was lit. Maybe. We'll see. Oh, yes, Glenn. One of the dolphins in Cetacean Ops was a real prima donna and wanted a special dessert for his birthday. If that's your headcanon, most people would say that Livingston didn't make the crash of the D in Generations, maybe. But we'll see. Cigars are no prop. Smoking was never acceptable. Okay, well, it's been acceptable in what's your time frame you're talking, Christoph? Because it was doctors recommend Chesterfields or whatever. I mean, that was a 40s and 50s advertising bit. It soothes your throat because our tobaccos are softer on your throat than those harsh tobaccos that our competitors use. That was a thing. But that's where we are now, and I got you. Hello, Mike Dean. Mike, are you new to Tuesdays Live? Welcome if you are. If not, thanks for popping off, because apparently, maybe so. And maybe he was all diagnosed out, had it on the piece of paper. It's in his file. It's on his digital piece of paper, and we go on from there. But again, sometimes a cigar is just a prop. Just saying. Just saying. Yes, Melanie. And Groucho lived to be an old man, as did Winston Churchill. So there you go. Again, texture not trivia, exceptions proving the rule, yada, yada, yada. Still, I know what I'm going to say. I know what I'm going to do. Hey, Tobias. Oh, no smoking, yet no problems with drinking, and don't give me that synthol for it, plenty real alcohol. Well, I just went through that, Tobias. We don't know. When you would see 40 people in 10 forward, and the conversation was usually focused around Picard or Geordi or Worf. People had friend support groups and all of that. And I would think that if something did become an issue or a problem, there were pretty fast responses and ways of dealing with that. That's why when I talked about Raffi, you can't enforce, perfection. How do you legislate perfection in the 24th century or whatever? You can't. You have a safety net. So if Raffi wanted to get off, and be depressed for a while and live in a trailer in Vasquez Rocks and somehow arrange that, she was respected in her wishes to do that at some point, up to a point. But the fact that she had the timbre of once being in Starfleet eventually rose to the surface. That and a little clever counseling of his own by one JP. But these were, again, all of these questions are interesting. Nothing is as clean cut and cookie cutter as maybe Gene set it out to be, maybe Gene 2 in Next Generation, because it was such a heavy needle to shift, just getting the awareness of the audience that far. What do you do? What do you do with your kids when they're little and you're trying to give them precepts? You try to give them truisms that are going to work for 99%. And then you trust that by the time they are older, it's the same thing with creatives. Wherever you are, you have the rules, but you have to know the rules for that one time you're going to break them. You have to do that when you're raising kids. You can't give kids all the exceptions in life. Up front, they'll be not only confused, but they won't know how to differentiate. So, synthobacco. Synthobacco. There we go. Well, Synthagar, I like that too. Synthobacco. It's an area we haven't explored, but if we have Synthahol, we kind of have a rebellion against Synthahol by all the writers who say, "Oh, that was too goody-goody. That was such 80s tripe. That was carpet on the walls and counselors on the bridge." Synthahol. Well, we're living with that a little more. And in the 80s, we were still reeling with, just say noism and the simplicity or the anti-simplicity. Again, living in the gray, living in the details. Texture, not trivia, gang. That's all what it's about. That's all what it's about. We're trying to make a futuristic world that's really all about us. Star Trek's always been that. And if you talk to anyone, Gene or Rick or Michael Piller or Ira or Alex Kurtzman, they will tell you that it's set in the future, but it's still got to relate to us. It's got to relate to us and be about us, dressed up nicely with all the positives we hope will be there. And then we get our canonistas and our and all of our canon folk and our daily life folk get into these nooks and crannies. But that's the debate. That's what, again, as we have this discussion, it's shining back on us. Gosh, this is good. I wish I'd had this in the front half. But all of these issues and questions and raw edges coming up are exactly what Star Trek is designed to do. If not in a huge global spanning way, even on the individualistic social side, personal responsibility, personal care, societal group care. It's one of those issues, right? Wow. Cannabis. Cannabis Felicium? Yeah. Oh, it didn't come through. Come on. Here we go. Boom. Yeah, Cannabis Felicium. That's funny. Serotonin levels affecting nicotine. Yeah. I mean, we're back into the body chemistry. This was our topic last week on Life Support Live. Body chemistry, biochemicals, neurotransmitters, all the chemistry of the body, for good and bad, for therapeutic and for short-term highs, self-medication. Burgess, Burgess Meredith. Yep. Thank you. This is what I'm saying, Keith. Yeah, just like Janeway has her coffee, Giorgio and Burnham had the nub on the command chair. That's right. That's right. Oh, you didn't. It doesn't show, but you said the closest he came to lighting it was when he first saw Girardi come on the bridge, as the scene was ending. Yes, you were watching. Well, good on you, because that's what I thought too. That was my impression. Oh, BC means before COVID. Okay, I use BT in the before times, but then I start sounding a little bit like you know who. Oh, thank you. And Marie, yes, you are a Trekophile spelled with an F. You betcha. Do we have you all up with the latest buttons? Next time I see you, I have to make sure you have all the buttons and things. Glenn, no need to apologize. Hey, it's all there. It's all posted. The podcast version is audioized and edited down. So be glad to see you. Hope you can make it with on the last 2 ones with us. And again, it's not for forever. It's the end of our weekly format, but we are keeping the idea, the concept, the brand will be around, and you can still get life support swag at the TeePublic store. Okay. I'm all about contrarians, Nathaniel, as long as they're civil. The Picard premiere left you cold. The episode seemed to spend a lot of time putting everyone back into familiar roles, uniforms, and paramilitary hierarchies. I wonder if they have the courage to go back to the series premise, that of an older man and his misfit friends struggling to make a difference. Well, it's about to get very misfit, and it's about to get very unfamiliar, and about to get very commentarian. So let the season play out. I bet you're not going anywhere. I'm going to reserve judgment. Let the series play out and see what happens. And again, they're working on 3 as well as 2. Gang, the news from the front is that filming basically wrapped yesterday. The sets are coming down and going into storage already. This is our California Star Trek, so I'm sad. I didn't get to see anything before it was gone. I should have asked a month ago, but I didn't. Everything else is still Toronto-based. Now, a lot of the writing for the animated is basically located here. A lot of professionals are here, but the live stage, anyone associated with the live stage effects, and a lot of the creatives who are hired because of the Canadian entertainment laws for using Canadians, and I can't fault them for that. I just want Star Trek back in Southern California where it belongs. There you go. There you go. Hey, Rico, good to see you, man. Everybody, it's a great Rico Anderson. What are you thanking me for? But you're welcome, whatever it was. Everybody go check out Rico's page and all of his credits, what he's been into lately. Zoom chat thing must survive. Thank you, Jared. Thank you for keeping it alive. We'll see how we can bop into it when you have one. Instead of, for those of you not familiar with Life Support Live, we have our own theme, and it's alternately called the happy music and the sad music. So if it's going to be Gloria Gaynor, I Will Survive, there you go. Here we go, Stephen. Yeah, is anyone else from the cage still alive besides Miss Gimple? It's crazy to think we're about to entertain a time where Star Trek is sold that no one worked on the first episodes. Well, we've kind of been there for a while. I mean, to me, it's more amazing that someone is still alive from the first episode. And remember, the cage was 2 years prior to the filming of a year ahead of the second pilot and 2 years ahead of the premiere of the show, year and a half ahead of Man Trap and Corbomite Maneuver. Corbomite Maneuver was the first shot after the second pilot, the first production run, and that's the Uhura in gold and the collars evolving and all of that. To me, it's amazing that we've had this many. To me, that's why it was so amazing to talk to Robert Butler. But pretty much, yes, the original series is all but wiped out. But here's the thing, gang: the next generation folks, we're losing them. A lot of them are passed, and we're losing them too. So, especially in the early years, there are fewer and fewer people around to talk about the first crazy year or two of Next Generation. In another couple of years, we'll be the little kids from Marion and the children shall lead. Yeah, very true, Stephen. A couple of decades, in 5 years. I hate to say that. Could be, yeah, 5-10 years. Okay, Glenn, I'm letting you see it. I'm letting it be. I'm letting it be there. Hey, Cadet Alice. Yeah, we have the Cadet Alice fan club. Yeah, she's adorable. And Smart Cookie, too. So you were the one who brought the Sith to the Trek party for the Picard premiere. There you go. You know what? I see your comment here, Tobias, and I realize that yes, there are Gamma and Delta Alphas wikis, but aren't they getting into gaming? It's not what I would define. My tier 1 and tier 2 are all defined within alpha and beta. I just want things. I want to know what was in a draft and not aired versus nothing at all. Right? It's like the inverted pyramid of journalism. Only it's for credibility, sourceability of facts, the facts that could have been had that episode not gone over 30 seconds and that little bit got cut, that kind of thing. The fact that it was on an acutogram, it was on a graphic visual and just never zoomed in close enough to see on camera, versus this leap we've now made where it was in the prop, it was on the screen, but not there. So like my news clippings from the Picard Generational album are all counted as next door, beta canon, canon adjacent. Tier 3 canon in my old way of thinking about it. Hey, Dave, better late than never. Hey, I say, as the one who was close to an hour being late. Oh, yeah. If it was the Friday taping, the Friday show, the last of the day, you might have seen bar glasses up behind their nameplates on Match Game. Right. Hey, William, what are you saying here? I enjoyed Star Trek Discovery 30. I understand how some people didn't like it because the burn was caused by a Kelvin boy who was stuck on the lithium planet screaming. What it was a different alien that caused the same effect? I mean, not his fault. Know what I mean? Yeah. I also think, William, that had that been an episode or at most a two-parter, if that plot arc had been a mystery for a couple of episodes, I don't think fandoms around. I think part of the trick in writing the serialized story arc, when you have the little running arcs that we've always had in Star Trek, Worf's discommendation, right? When you have those long-term arcs, the Doctor being unable to leave sickbay, when you finally come up with a format where you've got those like you've always, but then you have to have the big bad of the season and the mystery of what it is. It's like the closest that we've had is the Zindi year, like a 1-year arc. You've got to have that supported and even have the reason and the denouement play out at the end. It's hard to have anything end and you've had 9 episodes and then have it bang at the end. And that was the problem with the burn. Even though it was an episode before, people just felt let down by the cause. Where if it'd been an alien boy screaming as a 1-hour episode or a 2-hour standalone episode, I think people would go, oh my God, how incredibly brilliant alien wackadoo that was. I think it was the letdown that caused the fan reaction against that. So, but that's me trying to analyze. Right. Yeah. Did you say this before or after I did? Yes. Worf's adoptive parents had their Yiddish accents. Your brain does not have the THC receptor, so you can't get high from marijuana. Well, Glenn, I see you've fully researched the topic, though. Linda, Ali and I'll be happy to have a Saturday mornings back again. Well, we started this when his little girl was almost 2, so his Saturday mornings are forever changed. But I will be glad to have mine back. Yes, yes. Okay, now wait. So in the Q-verse, is Picard still a synth since 7 isn't a Borg anymore? Good question, Rusty. Maybe so. Maybe that will be a plot point. Maybe it will never come up at all. I'm still waiting to see how fast they run away from even the awareness knowledge. What does it matter that Picard is a synth? He's a golem body. He's got a synth. He's got his real brain in a synth. Oh, okay, that's getting metaphysical. Yes, missed it by 2 weeks. Missed it by that much. Starfleet Canon is very pretty, nice architecture. Yes, it has 20th century roots. Is it a crutch for the character? Is it product placement? Well, I don't know. I didn't see any way to tell what brand of cigar it was. I don't think it's product placement. Did he ever walk over to a box and open it up and pull out even a Synthagar? I don't think so. I don't think so. Yeah, there you go. There's not a label on the cigar or the cup of coffee. It's hard to purchase the nub on a captain's chair. Yeah. Let's see. Yes. If you hadn't read it, my friend Jeff Mandel went old school and did those ship plaques that are on display at Starfleet. Gave Captain Sulu and Captain Uhura cannon ships and careers. And what's amazing, and I haven't caught up with Jeff on this, he has Captain Uhura and her ship going to the Little Magellanic Cloud, which is 200,000 light years in her time, in Khitomer era. So I want to know how that happens, or if the Magellanic Cloud's projected speed is bringing it closer and closer to us. But that's on the plaque. It's canon now. Were we close enough to read it? Aside from Dave Blass's gang, once again, you need to take Terry Matelis's socials. You need to look at Dave Blass's socials. A lot of both of whom are technically going to be out of a job or are out of a job very soon. Picard is really ending with season 3. Will they take some of the characters and continue on? Will it be the adventures of the Stargazer? Who knows? Will they get picked up in other... I mean, this is the end of the road for this era of Trek, aside from the animateds. Will we see them as animated voices on Lower Decks, if not Prodigy? I'm thinking Lower Decks first. Because Strange New Worlds, we're back in the pre-Kirk days. Discovery, exactly the opposite. Where will Section 31 land? Well, we're months away from knowing that. So as fast as it came back to us, and as much as we're going to have to wait for season 3 on the creative cogitative side of it, it's a done deal. They're wrapped and finished. Writing was way done, and they're finishing filming, and post will now go on for a few months. So we'll see. We will see what happened there. Yeah. I don't think he's saying, when he says they're going to ignore the idea, I just think he's saying that the ramifications of him being a synth are nothing that create an issue. So it is a bit of a cop-out, but it's been 2 years. And again, the mix of minds that yielded that plot line is not the same as we have now. This is why these short seasons and COVID time, especially, COVID slowed everything down, but these short seasons are really like a halfway point between a movie format and a series format, especially the old 26 episode series, because you were so under the gun to crank. You didn't move the goalposts too much because you couldn't handle it that way. A 10 episode season is not quite the same way as having a reunion every 2 years to do a 2-hour movie. But it's an interesting dynamic, and it's something I've not thought about until this very moment, and now I'm going to file that away. But our short season, serialized landscape that we're living in now for so much of entertainment, much less Star Trek, really is kind of midway between. We talk about knocking down the barrier for creatives as far as the aesthetics, as far as the cred of it. You know, it's not about, oh, he's a movie actor and he's only a TV actor / writer / director / artisan. That wall's come down with cinematic TV, but this perception about, interesting, I'm going to remember that. Yeah. Betty said, well, the rest of your comment, Glenn, was since the whole season revolved around the anti-synth movement, but maybe he's postponing it because it's irrelevant to the season 2 story arc. That's what I'm saying, right? Nothing about that plays into Q and his time experiment. Yes, Justin, it was actually good to see the Deltons still around. I wish they'd all had little pendants that said "My oath of celibacy is on record," or a little emitter or something. There you go. It's time suspiciously close to Martin and Mingle's Lost to Air novel, The Sundered. Well, thank you, Mike. I never would have remembered this because I never got into the details of the novels because they were never canon. So why litter my line with them? The Excelsior visited the Small Magellanic Cloud via an interspatial rift in 2298. Well, maybe that's Jeff's take on that. Is that a replicatable technology? A propulsion? Hey, everybody, look, it's our kind of mini vortex wormhole. It's a interspatial rift. Poor Excelsior. They're always getting banged around. Yeah. Whatever happened to that young Kelpian? He's said to be in care. Right. He's a character. He's a character at the beginning of the season. Maybe we will wind up with him they're great about pulling back threads from the season for the finale, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Someone said Saru speaks 100 languages, but he was raised on his home planet. Well, Saru's a quick study. His brain cavity is configured to be really, really good. When did he learn the other languages? Good question. He's just very adept. He's been in Starfleet for several years. Maybe he's just, Kelpians are very adept at language. Yes, Keith, you could see them using the Stargazer scenes as test for a new series idea, because then you could see having the 23rd century pre-Kirk series and then having the 25th century post-Picard series satisfying different flavors, right? Yes. Don't think we've seen the last of the Stargazer. They did spend an awful lot of money on it for it not even to be the home ship of the season. We don't know how long they're going to be in Q's universe timeline, altered timeline. Spoilers, but that's in the promos. We don't know how long they'll be there, but clearly they're not using the Stargazer. Into the chat, almost here. We're not ready. Well, get ready. What if he... Yeah, what if he wakes up at the end of a long sleep from Q and Bobby comes out of the shower? What if? What if? Then you say, what was the point of the storytelling? Because it sure had no point on canon. We'll see. We will see. Gang, that's the end of the chat that I see. Maybe we'll have an explosion here. So apparently my whole topic today was settled by... Michael Chabon last year with his Cigar. But I still say, apparently, no, it wasn't pointless because a whole chunk of fandom didn't get that memo. They're on the same distribution list. I'm not. But the whole topic is a worthy bit. Once again, to revisit what I mean by hashtag texture not trivia. When there is, yes, a slip, an oddity, or just an out and out fuck up. Don't despair. Don't fling yourself off a cliff. And for God's sake, don't address 47 million tweets to the person whose name is attached to it. Right? blowing them up, tarring and feathering and doxing and whatever else you want to do in this time period. Take it in. Take it in. And sometimes some of the best against the grain moments, which is what any creative strives to, especially actors, especially writers, directors, you don't want it to be cookie cutter. You don't want it poured out of a mold. And when you're talking about the vastness of a society, whether it's all the Federation or the humans among the Federation, whatever it is, there's room for the exception that proves the rule. There's room for the odd one out. And whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, Mary, whatever it is, it's there as dramatic storytelling, and it doesn't hurt your overall canon picture perspective of what is usually the case. Because then you can figure out why it's not the case. And now you're off on a whole interesting line. So yeah, hashtag texture not trivia. I'm almost disappointed that it's in the hall. I was more concerned about him lighting it on the bridge than I was the fact that it was whether it was real tobacco or not. But there you go. Everybody, so thank you again for your patience today, and thanks for joining us once again. If you are so inclined, I would love it if you could jump on our Patreon. All these folks did. Thank you all again so much. It's only $5 or $10 a month there at patreon.com/TreklandLive. If you would be so kind to feel like this is worth supporting, that would be wonderful. Meanwhile, totally free over there at Trek Files on Facebook and at podcastroddenberry.com is the Trek Files. Our new episode is up today. We're back in the mailbag with my good friend John Champion. It's a lot of fun, and also some poignant moments about fandom in the 70s and today and the future that we actually get to as we're going through what's usually our lighthearted mailbag. Yeah, we pulled out a couple of poignant moments. Sneaked them in on you. So give it a listen. Give it a listen, please, if you do. And of course, like and subscribe to YouTube right now. That is where you can find Life Support Live across all these channels at 10 a.m. Pacific, YouTube and Facebook, and our Twitch channel, which is Life Support Live. I'll have to see what we do with the Twitch channel when we're gone. But 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. It's our next to last regular Life Support. Dr. Trek and Dr. Ali. Love to have you join us. Love the lifers. A lot of our TTLers here today are in that club as well. And overall, please go and like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell your enemies. It's Larry Nemechek's Trekland there, and Facebook if you're not there already. And Instagram. I got a lot of fun stuff planned for reels and things over there too if you hadn't seen. Got a Dave Blast quote if you want to check it out. If you haven't seen, it's across all the channels. Larry Nemechek on Twitter, portal47.net. If you enjoy this and you want to deep dive with our Portales community, we go even deeper with our programs, our live events, pieces out of my archives. It's the peak. It's the peak entertainment. It's the peak Trekland deep diving of all Trekland. Not unlike Paramount Mountain. So there we are, everybody. Thanks so much for being with us again today. I do want to point out, I don't have a hand for you, but if you are Vegas bound, if you are going to Vegas in August this year, Trek Vegas, STLV, you might as well keep calling it. That does not imply official licensing, by the way. It's Star Trek Las Vegas. And that's what it is at Bally's, the end of August this year in a change-up. Look for, if you're so inclined to come a day early, we'll be running the Valley of Fire Kirk Memorial Tour. Geek Nation Tours and I will be running that on the Wednesday before the con starts on Thursday. So you can check that out on my page or just go to geeknationtours.com and look for it. There's going to be more tour news coming soon across a broad front. Some of my projects and the next big tour next year with Terrace, which will have some changes and be a lot of fun. It's a interesting time right now across all of Star Trek. The cruise folks just got back. That's bigger than ever. It's its own thing. So that's an interesting take. We've got the big old OK convention in Vegas. We've got the Reed Pop show in April, which is happening. I know a lot of people are wondering. They're adding the guests. A lot of things are coming together later. We'll see how that looks. So lots of things are happening. And by next week, I'm going to have an announcement of my own. So maybe we'll announce it. Maybe I'll just wait and announce it on the finale for Virtual TrekCon. Maybe I'll do that. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for being with us here, gals, peeps, everybody. Once again, please stay healthy. Do all the things for where you are. Stay woke. Check your sources. And trek well, everybody. Trek well.